Hi guys. What's up guys, this is Courtney, one half of the Brothers of Deconstruction here, and I'm bringing you my review for Don't Worry Darling. Don't Worry Darling, as of this recording, came out last week, September 23rd, and it is Olivia Wilde's second movie that she's directed. It stars Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, Gemma Chan, Chris Pine, Kiki Lane, and it has a couple of other actors in it as well. It's screenplay by Katie Silberman, and it's based on a story by Carrie and Shane Van Dyke. I believe they're brothers. I didn't really write a script for this. I just came back from seeing a movie maybe 2 or 3 hours ago, and I wanted to just kind of talk about it. There's a lot of drama around this movie based on what happened at, I think, one of the premieres or like a film festival or something like that. But I'm not going to really talk about any of that drama because I don't really think it really matters too much in regards to the film itself. But I just wanted to talk about it in general. And of course, there's going to be spoilers. So Olivia Wilde also stars in this movie as well. She plays one of the supporting characters. But really, just to get everything out of the way, my thoughts on the movie. I thought it was okay. I liked it. I thought it was pretty well done. But there are some issues that I have with the movie, and the more that I've thought about it since I've been home, they start to kind of peek out a little bit more. I would consider Don't Worry Darling a psychological thriller. It does star Florence Pugh as Alice. The crux of the movie is really based around her performance. She carries the movie and she does an excellent job. Mostly everybody does well with their roles in acting. Apparently there's been discourse online about Harry Styles and his poor acting in this movie. I thought he was okay. There's a couple of times where I think that it was a little bit iffy, but overall I thought he did okay, so I really don't know what the fuss is really about regarding his performance. Moving on, Florence Pugh stars as Alice. She's a housewife to Harry's Jack. And it's like this 1950s like setting as the movie goes on. And I do like the fact that it kind of gets started early with letting us know that something's not right with what's going on, that Alice starts to notice. But it's like a routine. She wakes up, makes him breakfast, kisses him, and then he goes on to work. All the husbands in their cul-de-sac leave at the exact same time, and they're gone for the exact same shift, which is a little bit odd, but I just chalk that up to like the 1950s aesthetic in film. Like, hey, all the guys leave at the same time, they're gone for the same amount of time as well. But she slowly starts seeing weird visions and having weird dreams, but she slowly uncovers what's going on in Victory, which is the little town that they're in. Apparently, like, other people have said that the twist of this movie, which is the fact that this is kind of, and again, I've already done my spoiler warning, but the twist of the movie is that this is kind of like a matrix simulation that the housewives and the husbands are in, and that Florence's Alice, she's a doctor in the real world, and she's basically the breadwinner of her household with Jack, and he's basically a fucking loser, and he, like, we don't see it, but he like knocks her out, and basically like drugs her. Like, Victory is like this eye, like these eye holders that hold your eyes open, and lasers like just scan over them, I guess, putting you into this world. But it's basically like a matrix. It's a simulation that's not real. I think I should have caught that twist way earlier. So I do get why people say that the twist is. A lot of people are saying that they called the twist fairly early on. And one of the reasons why I say I should have caught it early on as well is because of the shit that was happening in the movie. Like very early on, you can tell that, okay, this is like a 1950s aesthetic, but nobody's talking like it's the 1950s. Olivia Wilde's Bunny, she's making jokes and just the cadence of her speech and how she's talking and how Alice is talking and the other wives are talking. It's not, they're using like modern language. And it's not a period piece like you think it would be. So thinking about it, I realized I should have caught on to that way earlier than I did. There were other things going on that Alice would see that would kind of hint that this really isn't a real world that she's living in. There was like it's almost like Cabin in the Woods, where they kind of telegraph or spoil the fact that they're living in like a dome that you can't get out of when a bird flies into it. There's a moment in the movie where Alice is like looking up at the skyline, or we see something in the skyline and it kind of flickers like a old school TV or something like that. For example, in WandaVision, when it would go from the hex and it would basically pulls through the TV tube. So it was kind of like a flicker like that. So I was like, oh, okay. Thinking about that, I should have realized, okay, this is like a simulated world or dome or something like that they're living in. But I kind of convinced myself like, no, this is something, they're poisoning the food or there's some type of alien invasion or something like that behind all of this. But my main issues, the more I think about the movie, is the fact that, the twist, the reveal of the fact that Jack has basically kidnapped his girlfriend and subjugated her to this. I think that could have been revealed way early, because once we get that twist, it goes back and it shows us their lives and how Jack is just kind of a loser. He's always at home. He's on YouTube listening to like conspiracy podcasts, what it sounds like. And then it just kind of rushes through him knocking her out at some point, and I guess dragging her to their room. I don't know if it's a different location. I think it's a different location, but basically taking her there and then just kind of like putting her in the simulation. I think that could have been revealed maybe halfway through the movie, and we see it should have been more of a pair. I think it would have worked better for me if it was more of a parallel. We see this perfect life that they're living in slowly crumble, and then once we get that reveal, it could have been the reverse. We see their life, as shitty as it may seem to us, even though in an argument, Alice tells Jack, it's my life, I loved working. Although I think that's probably because she didn't like being home with him. But I'll get to that in a bit. But I think it could have been a reverse of their kind of mundane, boring, shitty life slowly crumbling to the point where he kind of puts her under and takes her to this perfect world. So I think it should have been an inverse of that. And then I think the movie was kind of, I don't want to say it was kind of long because it is a slow burn, but I was very invested in what was going on. But if you drop that reveal, maybe, 45 minutes in, and then have the rest of the movie, or an hour in, because it's a 2-hour movie. It's a little over 2 hours. But if you drop it like 45 minutes in, and then we slowly work through the second and the third act of kind of us seeing them in the real world, and then, where they're at now and her escaping and fleshing out a whole lot of other things, I think it would have worked a little bit better for me. Going back to what I was talking about regarding how She said that she loved working, but I think that's because she didn't like the situation that she was in with him. I think if you pull back that reveal and flesh out like the other thing was that they didn't really touch on a lot of the topics that they brought up in the movie because they focused so much on kind of painting or hinting at there was something wrong. There was something wrong. And so they spent so much time doing that it really left no time to kind of jump and look at some other things. I think one of the topics that they could have talked about was the fact that she didn't really like being with him anymore because in the simulation they kept saying, oh, I love you, or I love you, this and that, and it was like beating us over the head. I know couples tell each other they love each other, right? But they made it such a focus, like, do you love me? Or how much do you love me? Jack saw the writing on the wall, which is why he knocked her out and put her under and into the simulation. But there were other issues that they talked about as well. Bunny, for example, Olivia Wilde's character, she willingly went into the simulation. So in the real world, I guess her kids died. They're in the simulation with her. So that's why she willingly goes in, because she gets to spend time with her kids. But we're told that in one scene toward the end, in like the last 5 minutes of the movie, before there's like a literal chase for Alice to escape the simulation. I think that would have been good subplot to kind of like go after. There's also the fact that there are other questions raised that really don't really don't make sense once you really think about them. Like, she's a doctor. Who knows how long she's been gone or how long she's actually been under in this simulation? But did nobody think to contact her or try looking for her? Like, there are things where it's like, the same goes for like the other wives, because the other wives are also, have, besides Bunny, like the other wives presumably have been, kidnapped as well. And it's just a really, really weird situation when you think about it, because, and even then, the fact that these husbands or boyfriends, or they could just be fucking creeps, kidnap these women and put them in this simulation. That's a theme that they could have expounded upon as well, that they just didn't really touch. And then also, I think the ending was a bit anticlimactic as well, because we're shown this kind of back and forth with Alice and Chris Pine's character. I'm forgetting his name right now. Frank is his name. Between Alice and Frank, where Frank knows that Alice is starting to realize the jig is up. And he even tells her, keep asking questions, keep doing what you're doing, because that's going to push me forward. But one, there's not enough of Chris Pine in this movie. I think he does a really good kind of, not menacing, but he had a really good performance where you can tell he was up to something, and he was, just kind of, they did a really good job of painting him as that mysterious boss that's really, really intimidating. That could have been more of a focus as well. Toward the end, Gemma Chan, who plays Frank's wife, she stabs him and kills him. She says, like, you're an idiot, it's my turn now. So I don't know if she was now going to escape or if she was now going to take over. Again, it just raised more questions than gave answers. And I don't think that's necessarily a question that needed to be answered. If the rest of it leading up to that was executed better, I think the ambiguity of that moment would have worked better, for me at least. But overall, I mean, I was invested in the movie. I won't say that it was an uninteresting movie or anything like that, because that's false, to me at least. I think it was an interesting movie. There's just some missteps and some execution failures that kind of hurt the finished product the more you think about it after you leave the theater. So, I mean, I would say I would probably say wait until it's on streaming, like maybe you can rent it or something like that. But even though I enjoyed it, there are definitely some questions that I do have overall with the movie. The more and more that I think about it, and the more that I start watching or reading people's reviews, because then it starts bringing things that I was wondering about. It starts bringing that to the forefront because now, I've read or watched a couple of reviews, and then I'm like, yeah, that makes sense because I was kind of wondering that too. So just the more and more that I sit back and I think about it, the more and more that stuff really just starts making less and less sense. The more the movie went on. And it really, really had some potential, and it really had some things that it could have tackled that it kind of glossed over. So overall, I would say probably rent this one. But yeah, guys, that's my review of Don't Worry, Darling. Hopefully, it's not too long, and every single time in the past that I've said, I hope my review isn't too long. It's been way too long. But yeah, I don't know what the next movie will be that I will review. Again, as you guys know, I really only review movies when I'm compelled to, when I just keep thinking about them after watching, and I have more questions, or I just have an internal conversation about, why did this happen? Why, like, I like this, but I didn't like that. So who knows? There are actually quite a few movies that I want to go see. I do want to go see Barbarian. There's another movie that I saw the poster for. I think Watch How They Run or something like that I want to go see as well. Hulu's Hellraiser is out, and also Netflix's Blonde is out as well. So those are a handful of movies that I just want to watch in general without necessarily. I don't have the intent to review those, but who knows? Depending on how I like them after I watch them, I may or may not do a review. I watched Prey a couple of weeks ago. I liked that one, but I didn't feel like I needed to put up a review for that one. So we'll see what the next movie is that I'll review. So in the meantime, keep checking out all the things on the channel. I know we're mostly a gaming channel now, but I've decided to kind of steer us back into the movie side of things. But keep checking out stuff on the channel, and as always, guys, I appreciate any likes that you drop, any comments that you drop, whether it's 1, 5, or 100, and I'll talk to you guys later.